Why do so many good men find themselves trapped in relationships that slowly drain their soul, wondering how they ended up walking on eggshells around someone they once adored? You know the feeling, that knot in your stomach when her name pops up on your phone, the way you rehearse conversations in your head, trying to predict which version of her you'll encounter today, the exhaustion that comes from constantly managing someone else's emotions while your own needs disappear into the background. Here's what nobody tells you about toxic relationship patterns. They don't announce themselves with obvious red flags waving in the wind. Instead, they whisper through seemingly innocent phrases that gradually rewire your reality until you question your own sanity. Today, we're talking about 5 specific things that, when spoken repeatedly by your partner, signal it's time to protect your peace and walk away. Not because you're giving up on love, but because you're choosing to love yourself enough to demand better. The first phrase that should make your blood run cold is this: you're too sensitive. Think about it. When someone consistently tells you that your emotional responses are wrong, they're not trying to help you grow. They're training you to doubt your own perceptions. This phrase is emotional manipulation disguised as helpful feedback. Every time she dismisses your feelings with these 3 words, she's teaching you that your inner voice doesn't matter. Your gut instincts, those evolutionary gifts that have kept humans alive for millennia, suddenly become character flaws that need fixing. You start second-guessing every emotional response, wondering if you're overreacting to things that would bother any reasonable person. But here's the truth. Your sensitivity isn't a weakness to be corrected. It's information. When something feels wrong, when your nervous system activates, when your emotional radar starts beeping, that's not dysfunction. That's your authentic self trying to protect you from harm. The second toxic phrase sounds almost loving on the surface. I'm only trying to help you. This one's particularly insidious because it comes wrapped in the language of care and concern. She positions herself as your personal development coach, constantly pointing out your flaws and shortcomings while framing her criticism as assistance. Pay attention to how this makes you feel over time. Real help empowers you. Real support builds your confidence and capabilities. But when someone's version of help consistently leaves you feeling smaller, more confused, and less capable than before, you're not receiving help. You're receiving systematic demolition disguised as construction. Healthy partners celebrate your growth. They don't appoint themselves as your full-time life improvement project. When every conversation becomes a performance review where your inadequacies are the main topic, that's not love. That's control with a smile. The third phrase reveals itself during conflict, and it's this: that never happened, or its cousin, you're remembering it wrong. Welcome to the gaslighting hall of fame, where your memory becomes unreliable and your version of events always seems to be conveniently incorrect. This isn't about honest disagreements over details. This is about someone systematically erasing your lived experience. When you bring up something hurtful she did, and her response is to convince you it never occurred, she's not protecting herself from false accusations. She's protecting herself from accountability by making you question your own mind. Your memory isn't perfect. Nobody's is. But when someone consistently denies events that you clearly remember, especially events where they behaved poorly, you're dealing with someone who would rather rewrite history than take responsibility for their actions. The fourth phrase sounds reasonable until you realize how often it appears. You made me do it. This is responsibility deflection at its finest. According to this logic, her behavior is always a response to something you did wrong. Her anger, her cruelty, her manipulation, all of it becomes your fault because you somehow forced her hand. Think about what this creates in your relationship dynamic. You become hypervigilant, constantly monitoring your own behavior to prevent triggering her negative responses. You start believing that if you could just be perfect enough, patient enough, understanding enough, she would finally treat you with kindness and respect. But here's what you need to understand. Adults are responsible for their own behavior, period. Yes, we all influence each other's moods and reactions, but the moment someone starts making you responsible for managing their emotional responses, they've crossed the line from partnership into parentification. The fifth and perhaps most devastating phrase is this: nobody else would put up with you. This one cuts deep because it targets your fundamental fear of being unlovable. She's not just criticizing your behavior in this moment, she's making a declaration about your worth in the relationship marketplace. This phrase serves a specific purpose. It's designed to make you grateful for her tolerance rather than questioning why you need to be tolerated in the first place. It keeps you small, keeps you settling, keeps you believing that this relationship, however painful, is the best you can expect to receive. But let's examine this claim logically. If you're truly as difficult as she suggests, why is she choosing to stay? If nobody else would want you, why does she? The answer reveals the manipulation. She stays not despite your supposed flaws, but because those perceived flaws give her power over you. Now, here's what walking away actually means. It doesn't mean you hate her. It doesn't mean you're giving up on love. It means you're refusing to participate in a dynamic that diminishes your humanity. Walking away means recognizing that some people are not safe spaces for your heart. Some people, regardless of their own pain or trauma, are not equipped to participate in healthy love. And staying with them hoping they'll change isn't noble. It's self-abandonment. You deserve to be with someone who celebrates your sensitivity rather than weaponizing it against you. Someone whose help actually helps, whose memory of events aligns with yours, who takes responsibility for their own behavior, and who feels grateful to have you rather than making you grateful they tolerate you. The hardest part about walking away isn't the leaving itself. It's trusting that you deserve better when you've been conditioned to believe you don't. It's believing that peace is possible when chaos has become your normal. It's having faith that real love exists when you've been surviving on scraps of affection mixed with consistent disrespect. But here's your permission slip. You don't need to fix anyone. You don't need to prove your worth by enduring poor treatment. You don't need to graduate from a toxic relationship by finally earning consistent kindness. Your job isn't to be the exception to someone's pattern of harmful behavior. Your job is to protect your peace, honor your worth, and create space in your life for someone who doesn't require you to shrink in order to love them. When she says these things, when these phrases become the soundtrack of your relationship, you're not walking away from love. You're walking toward it. You're walking toward the love you deserve, starting with the love you give yourself. The door is open. Your future self is waiting. Walk toward the light.